Greetings, fellow humanoids. S. Honeywood here, coming to you with another video from One Sun 360. Today, I'm just exploring some of my thoughts that I've been having here recently. So, I speak for myself and I speak for many of us when I say that for many of the melanated beings here, a lot of this can really feel like a roller coaster ride that you have no control over, especially since you've been regarded as property, as a rented mule, farm tool, all of the above and a couple of other things that I haven't even mentioned. So it can kind of feel like falling. It can kind of feel like you truly in a sunken place. You weren't there when they made up the rules, the laws, the ethics, the policies, guidelines. So in the middle of this, after having your past, your history, your culture, your way of life extracted from you, you're expected to live in this world where you would give everything that you are to build in someone else's dreams and goals. How do you escape this? How do you get out of it? What are the tools that we can use just to free self internally, even if it's at this point maybe impossible to do externally? What can we do to make sure that we get the ball rolling in the right direction to move forward and free our spirit and our soul from what is sitting here, manipulating it, using it to fuel other agendas? Where do we go from here? I don't know. But I can tell you that we are starting to understand where the strings are, where the chains are. And also what's being used to keep you at a threshold. So let's explore some of those ideas. And then together, maybe find a way to transcend the invisible bars, the invisible chains and shackles. Join me as we have another talk. One Sun 360. Let's go. So the reason I wanted to get into talking about cymatics, the light spectrum from infrared to ultraviolet, is because we starting to see where certain materials or basically matter itself, which includes everything, including your body, when exposed to certain vibrations or frequencies, actually you can reconfigure and rewrite what the material or what the form is. As you can see, when they show you what vibration does to the salt crystals on the plate, when vibrated to a certain frequency, it completely changes it into complex geometrical shapes. So we have frequencies that vibrate at the level of health or happiness, or maybe even youth. So basically you have your own vibrational tools in your body, like your thoughts, what you think about. Like we already know that, sitting here saying a mantra over and over and over again about, how depressed you are, what that can do to you physically. What it can do to the body, stressing it out, changing it, making it tense, full of anxiety, and functioning low. So what about pranayama, breathing techniques, because your breath vibrates the spirit. Also what you say, as you can see with Dr. Emoto's video with the water and then the water crystals. And you being 80% water, this has a lot to do with you. So we've explored the vibration part a little bit. We talked about the water, and what the body is composed mostly of water. So the other thing that we need to discuss is the light spectrum. The vibrational part is the hertz. The light spectrum from infrared to ultraviolet. Now that's something that we've seen so many times We've seen it in movies a lot because directors sometimes have occult arts and secret teachings from whatever order or society that they belong to. So they put a lot of symbolism inside of the movies. So what you get to see a whole lot is the character that usually ends up being the main antagonist is in red and black, which would signify that he is of the infrared spectrum or the lower end of the spectrum. And a lot of times you see the good guys in blue and white or blue or whatever. So as we discussed this, you can see where red and blue is used a whole lot. The police, Superman, Spider-Man, things of that nature. But when you look into it more, you see Republicans, Democrat. You see the red corner, the blue corner in boxing. You see the never-ending struggle, the battle, angels, demons. They've placed this polarity in just about everything because they polarize everything and make adversarial tones, conflict. But what you can see is really, the spectrum is basically, a whole is you. And both ends of the spectrum usually end up being the same thing. Just, as far away from each other as they can be, which makes them a variation so that you can have differences. Don't forget about your Bloods and Crips. I really like the Defenders picture because it gave me a lot of insight into this whole thing with the infrared and the ultraviolet spectrum. I was always wondering, what's going on with the green and yellow there. So I've seen it so many times. The other time that I seen it, I do remember was The Last Dragon, Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon, where Sho'nuff was red and black. The lethal power of the hands. He's also, kind of, hateristic, mean, antagonistic. And then you had Leroy Green with the golden glow. So, right there you get to see where certain parts of the spectrum is displayed. Also here in the Defenders, you have Daredevil, red and black. He is blind and he resides in Hell's Kitchen, using his sixth sense to, feel his way around and be more agile and quick with his reflexes than most. Then you have Jessica Jones, who is the mind of the group, and she's in the ultraviolet spectrum. And you have Luke Cage and Iron Fist in the green and gold area, or right there at the middle, or maybe at the heart chakra and willpower. Also, there was another thing that I noticed, and I'll mention that. I'll bring that up. Yeah, that was Revolver, and that was a really good movie. Remove the two R's off of Revolver, and you have Evolve. So you had Lord John, red and black, Dorothy Maka, blue and white, infrared, ultraviolet. In the middle of this, you have Jake Green and the unseen, ambiguous character of Sam Gold. Does any of this sound familiar? Are you starting to see the connection? I know I am.